Hello everyone, Danny here today to talk to you about the book, The Nature Fix, Why Nature Makes Us Happier, Healthier, and More Creative, written by Florence Williams, narrated by Emily Woo Zeller. And come on, who doesn't want to be happier, healthier, more creative? Now, before I get started on my review of the book, I'm starting to get feedback from people on books that either they think I would like or they would like my opinion on. So please, if you're listening to this and you have a book that you think I would enjoy or you would like my opinion on, put it in the comments. Let me know about it. If you've listened to the book, let me know what you think. If, like me, you love audiobooks, subscribe, turn on notifications. Let's enjoy audiobooks together. This book was a huge hit with me. I was thoroughly surprised by the content of the book. Now, stop and think. Based just on that title, what would you expect this book to be? You would expect this book to be, all about hugging trees and throwing away your cell phone and going and living in a cabin in the woods, right? Ain't what this book is about, is it? My wife says I have terrible grammar, and she's correct. I'm trying to work on that. That is not what this book is. This book, what Florence Williams does is she looks not just at the American view of nature. She starts off going to Japan and doing what they call nature bathing, which sounds like you just go get naked and live in the woods or something like that. But that's not what nature bathing is. Nature bathing is completely engrossing yourself in nature. And she looks at the Japanese view of nature and how the Japanese are approaching nature and studying nature based on their unique view of nature and how that differs from us here in America. What's really fun with this book is she participates in the studies. And in a book like this, where an author has a definite goal, and the goal of this book, make no doubt about it, the goal of this book is to get us to spend more time in nature. Now, when an author writes a book and they have a specific goal like that, typically, everything they have in the book supports that goal. If there are any negatives in the studies, they gloss over those negatives or they completely ignore those negatives. She definitely does not do that. She has no problem saying, here's a problem with this study. This study has this fault, and if we really want to know more about how effective this is, then we need to fix that fault with this study, or we need to do another study or something of the sort. She's also perfectly free to say, hey, most of the participants, when they did this study, they felt blissful and happy and peaceful and their cares went away, but not me. I stressed myself out. She is a terrible test subject for these tests. Listen to the book. You'll see what I mean. So you've got a study going on in Scotland, because she goes all over the world. It's not just Japan. She goes to Scotland. She goes just all over the place. And so I don't remember exactly which country it's in, but she's in a country. It might have been New Zealand. I don't remember. But she's doing this study where they're studying the effects of nature on the alpha waves of the brain. And so she wants to get her brain into an alpha wave state. So she goes out there, and instead of just, like it was me, I'd be hiking and watching and relax. This one might have even been in the United States. I think this one was in the United States because she talks about a maintenance vehicle backing out and people, and because she's focused on getting her mind to alpha wave status, these things keep interrupting her and irritating her. And by the time the study's done, she's more stressed than before the study began. And she even admits she's not a very good test subject for these test studies because she's too focused on doing well on the test instead of just relaxing, doing the test, and letting the results be what the results will be. She takes, and this was some of the most fascinating stuff in the book, she takes each of our senses. She addresses how our senses affect our brain, our mood, our hormones, a whole slew of aspects of our body. I had no clue the effect that scent had on just a slew. I learned something, and I had a very interesting conversation with my wife about this, because she says that studies have proven that women have a better sense of smell than men. Most women can identify their children by how they smell. Men cannot. I definitely have no clue what my kids smell like. Love my boys. I couldn't identify one by his smell. And I was talking to my wife over breakfast, and I mentioned this, and she's, oh yes, Justin smells like this, Jonah smells like this, Joshua smells like this. And then when they sweat, Justin smells like this, Jonah smells like this, So now I know. There are times when I come into the house and my wife's like, oh, the dog stinks. I don't smell anything. I think it's in her head. No, it's not in her head. It's the fact that she has a nose that works a whole heck of a lot better than my nose works. And she does the same thing with sight. Just looking at nature, learning about fractals. I didn't know anything about fractals or Pollock, the artist Pollock. I want to go find Pollock's artwork and look at his artwork now based on that chapter in the book. Sounds, I mean, the effects of noise pollution, how much we live with noise pollution. Now, here's the thing. I'm a truck driver. That's why I love audiobooks so much. I spend hours on a daily basis driving. I live on the Washington side, across from Portland. I spend the majority of my time driving in Portland, Wilsonville, and Salem rush hour traffic. And I have had to come up with little mental games to play with myself to keep from just losing my temper and going into road rage. I mean, I play this game at the start of the shift to where I imagine that today I'm part of a game show. This is all being televised. I'm part of a game show. And it's me versus everyone else on the road. And everyone else on the road has the goal of getting me to hit them. If I hit them, they win. But if I can make it through the entire day accident-free, I win. So it's a contest. So every time they jump in front of me, cut me off, slam on their brakes, instead of getting angry, nice try, but I saw you coming. You're going to have to do better than that. Or I imagine when you get stuck behind that little old lady that's like head barely over the steering wheel, and she's doing 30 miles an hour on a 55 mile per hour country road, because I go out to dairy farms. So a good bit of my driving is done on country roads. I'm hauling double tankers. I weigh over 50 tons. I cannot pass people safely. So if I'm stuck behind someone doing 35 miles an hour, I'm going to do 35 miles an hour, and I'm going to hang far enough back. And that can get you. That can get really irritating. And so what if that was my mom? What if that was my mom or my grandmother in that car? How would I want people to treat them? The little mental games like that, and I never understood, why does it get to me so much? Well, then I learned that the most invasive and irritating sounds that exist are traffic, and motorcycles are the worst of all. And the fact that we cannot escape the sounds of traffic is this huge problem with our stress levels. So 5-6 days a week when I'm out driving in traffic, it's more stressful than I realized it was. And I now understand why I have to play these special little mental games. And the amount of information that I learned from this book was shocking. I've never listened to a book about getting back to nature that was close to as informative as this one. And I've listened to a few. So for me to say that after all the books I've listened to, let you know, if you've never listened to a book on getting back to nature, you'll be blown away. And on top of that, you'll be entertained. I'd finish a chapter and I'd keep going because I was entertained by the book. Emily Woo Zeller does an excellent job of narrating the book. Loved her voice, loved her inflection, the whole 9 yards. The stories of Florence Williams doing these studies and either doing well or not doing well. Now, there are 2 chapters that to me disappointed, and they were towards the end of the book. One of the chapters was on PTSD and women, battling PTSD, and the other was on our educational system and kids with ADHD. And these chapters disappointed me because the other nature books that I've listened to, the other books that address this subject, that's what they dwelt on. So for these 2 chapters, I was used to, for the first part of the book, every chapter being so full of information, so incredibly educational. And then these 2 chapters, for me, missed the mark. But that's because of the other books that I've listened to that covered that subject matter. If I had not listened to the other books that covered that subject matter, it would have been just as informative. It was entertaining to listen to her go to her studies. And I did learn some things. I did learn, I didn't know how preschool came about, the history of preschool. You learn about the history of preschool. You learn about how it's changed. That was new. That was very interesting. This is definitely a really, really good book. If you like my channel, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you like the video, hit the like button. Questions, comments, feedback, send them my direction. But no matter what else you do today, make sure that today you listen to at least one really good book, and I absolutely recommend this book. Thank you.